gosh. So what does that mean? What's going on with the market? You mean
Well, everything because I'm not a big stock guy, but
right?
I told my wife Elisa, I said, you know what, we have some money saved up, and
Mhm.
it's just not making any money, just sitting there.
Right.
So I said, well, let me just take a small chunk, and the country's never been this low in a long, long time. So I've been watching all the market news and
Uh-huh.
everything. And it just every day is crazy.
Yep.
Every day is crazy.
It's crazy. And do you have a financial advisor?
Uh, no, at work we have I think it's called a 457.
Yeah, but that's not the same.
It's not the same, but
The
they're
450 something is almost like a 401k, like a retirement plan.
just a little different in some part. But
Right.
there's people that will help out the firefighters.
Uh-huh.
So I kind of put myself on basically set it and forget it. It's kind of like not too aggressive, but not too
Okay.
mild. So
But you can't pull the money out when you want to.
not until I'm 50.
So that's the difference between the two. So Brant was just, we're just having a conversation right now. So Brant was just asking about, what is the market like, and that was really the premise of today's call, was to say, hey, what's happening with you? How are you dealing with the COVID and, um, refinancing purchase? Right now, the financial market is when it comes to the stock market, gas, right?
Yeah.
All that other good stuff.
Yeah.
And then Kyler already told me that my salsa video was the best one so far. So I'm trying to figure another one out, but I gotta let you know. I saw somebody because it's so hard to do a lesson unless you have a partner
Yeah.
that you can actually. But I'm hoping that at least the basic steps, because that was for some seniors. I was gonna actually do the salsa lesson,
Thanks.
and they couldn't make it. So Brent, keep saying what you're saying with your money, what you're trying to do.
No, it's just unprecedented times, and the short time that I've been on the planet, I've never seen anything like it. So it
Mhm.
just seemed like this would be the perfect opportunity for opportunities.
Mhm.
Just dive in. So that's why I kind of just spoke to the wife about what do you think about looking at some stocks right now and whatnot. But
Mhm.
just trying to keep a pulse and just hearing what I'm hearing. I'm not really like a professional, but nobody has a clue how to read the market right now. It's so crazy.
Right. And then some of those little candlesticks that I show
Yeah.
from time to time, because I think I do it now like every other video, because I have some people who say it's too technical. But the purpose of having it is so that you guys can start trending the market. So
Yeah,
when
no,
you look,
appreciate it.
and I'll show you later on, when you look at some of the candlesticks, when you should be buying or perhaps selling, right? So some of the people are saying, hey, you should wait till the S&P hits like a certain number and then consider. So that's when you talk to your financial advisor, right? And
Okay.
when it hits that number, that's when you actually start investing, because it may not be the rock bottom price for what you're trying to invest in, but
Right.
it might be closest to the lowest price so that you can get the gains. um, but it's like you said, it's so hard because who would have known,
Yeah.
Yeah.
right?
Right. We're on the same boat. John and I were just saying that, um, last recession, we weren't in a position to be able to do anything with money. And this
Right.
time we own a house and better jobs and, we're more
Wow.
stable. So this is a good time for us to start really kind of being more proactive, watching the market more closely, refinancing, maybe buying a second property and starting to buy some stocks and stuff, because right now we've only ever just had our 401ks and our things like that. So
Right. And then with the firefighters, you guys have a 457, right? Grant, right? So
Yeah.
so the difference between them is, what's the difference now, Grant, between the 457 and
I think it's at the age you can pull out. I think for us it's 50. I'm not sure what a regular 401k.
right? And that's good that they put it that low, because you guys are saving lives, right? Most of us have to wait to 59 without a penalty. Let's get that part right.
Well, hopefully we live long enough after retirement to.
Yep. That's why they're letting you. That's why
Uh,
they're letting you pull every. That's why they're letting you take it out at an earlier age.
so
Right.
it's a hidden message.
Yeah, it is a hidden message. And then with us, we have a choice of doing a regular 401k and a Roth, right? And
Right.
the difference between the two for us is that, like for me, I put all my stuff in a Roth now, so I get my taxes pulled out, and then this way, when I get older, when I pull it out, I don't have to pay taxes.
Yeah, John was just saying that through the police department, because after I had my third baby, I quit working, so I don't have, I don't work anymore.
Right.
um, John was saying that through the police department, you can take out a spousal Roth. So we're going to look into that too.
What was the difference in did you have a different swag or?
Well, I mean, we don't really own it yet, but I mean, yeah, owning a home is nice, especially, our equity's been growing pretty steadily. It'll be interesting to see what happens with the housing market. That's why we're eager to refinance so we can rent this place out and hopefully buy another one once the market goes down and, be multiple property owner. But yeah, having a house is nice, especially for our kids. I had my third baby and we moved when she was 6 weeks old. So that was fun. But it was nice to have more room because we were in a 2-bedroom apartment. So
Yeah, that'll do it.
And now you've outgrown your space, right?
Yeah, we've already outgrown it. We still have only 3-bedroom house, but at least we have more room. So
I love it. Okay, so Miss Kyla.
Yes.
I wanted to know, because you just talked about, here we are in the middle of this COVID-19 and you're already still plumbing through and looking forward in for the future. You have 3 kids now, right?
Yes.
How old are they now?
2, 4, and 6.
2, 4, and 6. Oh, wonderful. So why are you so optimistic and just ready to just do what you gotta do?
Well, I think that this comes from my tough, strong husband to have a mental perseverance in times of, chaos and weakness, which I think is probably one of his greatest strengths. But I think, that unfortunately this is a horrific, terrible situation. I know firsthand my little brother has it in LA. So it's scary.
Right.
But I think that, we're smart and we're strong and we're going to get through it.
Right.
And I think that unfortunately in bad times, you still have to look to the future to make sure you're protecting your family and yourselves. And I think that this is going to present opportunities for people who are my age, your age, that are really going to help us in the long run, buying a new house, being able to set ourselves up and our family and being more secure.
And Brent, I have to say the same to you, because I know we're waiting to get you either investment property or something else, right?
Right. So unfortunately, back in 2007-8, when I bought my first home, I can't tell the future. So, it was a bad experience. But this come around is a little bit better experience, and then, we're in a better position. And I think now that thanks to you and you were able to foresee what was coming, and you contacted us. Thankfully, the refinance wasn't even on my radar. And to have the opportunity now before what just happened is huge. I think it's huge for a lot of people who are trying to save money here and there, especially for those that have lost jobs and whatnot. So, this is, like I said earlier, unprecedented time right now, and it's crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy. And then at the end of the day, one thing that's great, right? You do have those individuals or those communities that are now coming together. So that's always one of the good things that happens. But I'm so glad that as a planner, right, or as a mortgage planner, that you're actually doing the do, right? That you're right, because time, Kyla, you said earlier that you had the financial means now to start thinking differently, right? So your outlook was different, right?
Certainly.
So it's kind of nice because right now you can feel a little relief because you have some money in the bank, right?
Right.
But at the same time, you still are, right? Because I think this is what's going to happen with COVID, with everything happening. How do you think it's going to change the way people spend their money or look at money?
Well, I think this whole thing is definitely, there's already, tens of millions of people out of jobs. Thankfully, my husband has a stable job and it's probably not going to go anywhere. But I think this is really going to be a wake-up call for a lot of people who are living paycheck to paycheck and not stable with their financial decisions. And I think it's hopefully a wake-up call for a lot of people to become more financially responsible and using opportunities like this to set themselves up for some unforeseeable, pandemic or recession or housing crisis or whatever to happen in the future that you don't really know is going to come. But, you can be more prepared. So it's scary, but it's presenting opportunities at the same time.
And you, Brent, how old are your children now?
My son's 2 and baby girl's a month and a half now. Well, probably gonna be 2 months tomorrow, actually.
Oh my gosh. Well, congratulations. So how is so if you look at what you were doing with your money and now what you're doing with your money compared to what's happening, what's your take on that?
It's a little bit confusing right now. It's kind of trying to find out what's going on right now and what's going to happen. It seems like so many people. Uh, the more as we go on, the news comes out. It seems like people are a little bit more confused, and the numbers weren't uh, what they were expecting.
Mhm.
So, what does that mean? Um, you know, I don't know. Where do I put my money? Uh, do I throw it in stocks, or do I put it in a Roth, or um, and you're listening to experts on the news, and it seems like no one has a clue what to do. Uh, but I think for now, the fact that we're able to have save some money uh, puts us in a position of when that opportunity arises, or we see it clearly, that we're able to execute on that.
Right. And that's exactly what a lot of investors were doing, right? Because we've been saying for quite some time that we're going to become heading to a recession, right?
Sure.
So one of the things I do as a mortgage planner is say, hey, let's take a look at all your debt, find out what you have to pay off, right? Because as you're saying, right, Kyla,
Yeah.
you're paying if you're working, and it's unfortunate because we have certain things that happen. You have individuals that they don't have the capacity and they are working paycheck to paycheck. So how do we help those kind of families, right? So you have the CARES Act that is out now, which might take another 3 to 6 weeks before any of those families see any money, right? And by that time, right, your rent's already due and some of your bills. But at the end of the day, it is, I think, like with me, it makes me happy to know that those individuals that you give them the advice and let them know, hey, um, try to do this, right? You're a homeowner now, right? Try to get 1 month of reserves and 2 months of reserves, 3 months. So this way you have a little bit of money saved um, for a rainy day like today, and then be able to help others, maybe not financially, but more on a spiritual and make people feel a little healthy, right?
Right.
So did you have any questions for me? Because I know you've been watching my videos and things like that.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I keep watching the interest rates so we can refinance. That we're eager for right now. Refinance and then buy something. So we wanted that to be our first move, and so I know that you're sending great informational videos about that. So we're staying on top of that, and then yeah, of course we're gonna um, start looking at some stocks and stuff. So
I think my brother's joining.
Yeah, he's joining. What's up,
Yeah.
Ed?
Okay, how's that?
Yeah,
Gotcha.
that works.
Hey guys, sorry about that. I'm not very good at technology.
Oh, that's cool. I'm glad you joined us.
Yes, glad to be here.
You're here, right? So what was the last question, Brett? Do you remember?
You were asking if we had any questions in regards to the amazing videos that you post
That's
on
right.
the constant. Uh, Kathy, I saw it on the news, and then I saw you try to explain it. But if you could maybe go over it briefly, um, not paying rent or your mortgage.
No, the forbearance.
Yes.
Okay.
sorry, I'm back.
You want me to clarify that again?
Well, I just wanted to confirm that you do eventually have to pay that money. It's not
Oh,
forgiven.
That's right. It's
Yeah.
not forgiven. So basically what they're allowing. So the one thing that happened is when they put out the information, they put it out like anybody can just apply. Then what did that do? That just created a whole flood of people who may not qualify for it, right? So think about it like you get an offer, hey, you got this credit card, no payments for 90 days. No payments for 90 days.
I'm in.
Charge your card up $5,000. You're gonna get a bill. And if you don't pay the bill, then what happens to the balance that you owe?
Is this just a video
Right.
this is us?
So they're gonna tack on the interest.
Who's Kathy?
Hey,
This
they're
is
gonna,
Finn.
hey, bye,
All right, go ahead.
bye. They're gonna tack on the interest, right, to the balance that you owe, and then based on the contract that you have, are they gonna give you another 3 months to pay it? Right? So with a credit card, no. Once there's no payments after 3 months, you got to start making payments. So the same thing happens with the forbearance. You have 3 months. So in the third month, if you're not working, if you can't make the payment, then you have to talk to the person who you're sending the check to and figure out what plan can they give you.
Got
Right? And are they going to allow you another 3 months? So the first part of the forbearance, they're going to give this is what they're going to do. They're allowing you to wait 3 months to not make a payment. But if you have $7,000 in the bank and your payment is $2,000, do you think you're going to qualify for that forbearance?
Right.
because they're going to ask for the proof. It's almost like qualifying for a loan, so to speak, right? So then what will happen is you don't make your payment. So let's say you the first month you can't make it, the second month, and then on the third month you still don't have a job, right? The banks don't want your houses, right? There's a lot of equity in the homes, and they would prefer to create a plan to help you keep your home. That's the first thing they want to do, but you're going to have to prove that you can keep it, right? So it's almost like, let's say you file bankruptcy, you don't have a job, you don't have any money. How are you going to make those payments in the future?
Right.
So what is that servicer going to do? Well, then it's up to them to make a decision to say, hey, I'll give you another 3 months, and in the 3 months it doesn't happen, then we're going to have to start foreclosure procedures, right? So if you have enough equity in your home, what are you going to do? So I had a conversation with a couple of my people that I know, because I consider you like family friends, right?
Sure.
We've known each other for a couple of years now.
Absolutely.
And so if you have property and you don't think you're going to have your job reinstated in 3 to 4 to 5 months, what should you be planning? Right? If they would have planned before, they would have done their debt consolidation, paid off all their debt, right? And all they would have had really was a mortgage and maybe a car payment.
Yes.
It made it easier for them to contend with today, right? Hey. But at the end of the day, you have independent capacity, right? They make money and they spend their money, and like Kyla said earlier, this is going to make people change the way I'm gonna hold on to my money a little bit higher, right? We didn't have napkins in the house for 2 days. Napkins, the little things you take for granted. Yeah, we use paper, right? But now you have appreciation. Now, I'm not going to be using 2 or 3 or 4 of these napkins. I'm going to be a little more. I had my napkin that it was so. I'm like, okay, can I use any more of this napkin before I throw it away? So that was my perspective on what's happening, because our grandparents or great parents went through the depression, right?
Right.
And so I'm segueing from the forbearance, because at the end, if you don't have the capacity to pay your mortgage, then you have to talk with that service provider to keep your house. Otherwise, you have equity in your home. Unlike what happened in 2008, there was no equity in the home, right? So when you sold your house, you didn't have any money.
Right.
Where now, if you had to go to foreclosure, the first thing they're going to do is what? You're going to have to pay the bank whatever you owe, and whatever's left over, you should be able to have those funds. But then what are you going to do? Now you got to go rent.
Right.
And sometimes rent right now goes as much as owning a home. I hope that answers the foreclosure, right? Not foreclosure, but the forbearance. And the thing that when you hear the news, someone had said, oh, we're going to give you 6 months. No, you got 3 months. Because after the third month of consistently not making your payment, they can start foreclosure proceedings. And the banks don't want your houses. We don't want it.
Right.
We want you to keep your house. And they're going to do whatever they can. Oh, look how cute she's big. Hey, Ed, what kind of questions did you have, buddy?
I just the biggest question was just, how you interpret the data when you put out those videos, because they're extremely helpful, obviously to me and many others. And the way you're able to explain that data and crunch it in a timely fashion, that really makes a difference. So I'm always amazed by that ability.
Well, so thank you for the compliment. And so basically, like right today, I've been doing my videos now a little later in the afternoon, because you said there's so much news, there's so much data. And then I have to have it, I have it in my head, and I'm like, okay, how can I deliver this within a 3 to 4 minute video? Because there's so much information, right? And so I'm here at a friend's house, and she was like, well, I don't understand what this is. And I don't understand what this is. I said, yeah, but eventually you will get to understand the terminology. But then that allows me now to say, hey, I need to do some of the terminology so that people can go in and understand it. But so there's a lot of research that I do. So I have a lot of sources and software that I actually pay for as far as getting the data, and then looking online for the news and some of the reports like so how do I take all that information and then say I'm gonna do a 3 to 4 minute video?
So I'm glad you pointed that out, that I didn't take in consideration that the difference between 2008 and now, that there's equity.
Right.
So let's just say, people are out of jobs for the next 6 months. There's going to be some problem paying the mortgage. if it gets down to foreclosures, I'm assuming it won't be the same way as 2008 because you said the houses have equity, so they're able to pull out some type of money to pay for whatever missed payments there is.
So basically, what may happen, right? Because we're hoping that that's not the case. We don't want people to lose their home, right? So should a family not be able to make the payments, it's going to be up to whoever is servicing their loan. I know I did a little video on that. So basically, the reason why we're at capacity right now is, think of it this way. The person who has to make the payment makes the payment to a bank that's on the paper. That person still has to make a payment, right? Because they're just a servicing company. That company, he's the third party, then has to pay the person who actually owns the loan. Okay. So if you don't make a payment to me for 3 months and I'm making a payment for 3 months, what happens to my cash flow?
Right.
And so banks are like, hey, listen, we got to hold off a little bit because we got to make sure we have enough reserves just in case people can't make their payments. So that's the first thing. So that's one of the reasons why, which is different from 2008, because 2008, you didn't have a lot of equity. So people were able to buy homes at a lower price, right?
Yeah.
Right. Because we had too much inventory, right? Now we don't have enough inventory. So that's one of the reasons why people are saying or speculating that the equity is still going to be there because there's not a lot of homes for sale at this time, right? So let's say a certain percentage of people do go into foreclosure, you're not going to have the same opportunity as you had in 2008 because the home prices are not as low.
Got it.
Right? But the way interest rates are now, last year the rates were in the fours, right? So I'm refinancing people who are in the fours so we can get them into threes, right? And then the phenomenon happened because I know, right, Ed, you call me and say, hey, somebody called me 3.25. What did we say, Ed? What did we say?
Yeah, wait.
Yeah, we said wait, right? And then when we hit 2.75, it was like, wait a minute, it can go down lower. And then what we say?
Bye.
Lock the rate. Lock the rate. And people, wanted 2.6, 2.5. I'm like, hey, you can wait if you want, but at the end of the day, hey, I don't know what's gonna happen. So where we're at now is you have all of these different things that are happening, right? So one, you have the forbearance. So banks have to say, hey, let me make sure I have enough to take care of what I got to take care of for this forbearance part. And with the stimulus plan, it also allows people and businesses to be able to go breathe. So when the feds cut the Fed rate to zero, not the interest rate, the Fed rate to zero, then that was to allow the banks to have all this liquidity so they can have this cash that they can use, right, for where we're going at right now. So will foreclosures increase? They will. One, because people who were going to lose their jobs prior to this or on the way, like Kyla was saying, if you weren't spending your money properly and you're not making a priority for your home and or the reason why people don't make their payments, right? Usually something, their job, their health, right? There's always a meaning or something that happens that they would, because nobody wants to jeopardize their home, right?
Right.
So we're gonna have foreclosures regardless. That's always part of it. So as soon as we can get a treatment and get people back to work, then hopefully more families can keep their home, because that is really the goal for the banks. That's the goal for the economy, because who wants a place where people are losing their homes, right?
So Kathy, with all that said, so what I'm getting from this is, yeah, we'll have foreclosures, but it's not going to be the same play out as 2008. Okay, so what about home prices? Are they going to fluctuate a little bit, or?
Well, I'll give that to you and Ed. So you got Ed. How long ago did you buy your house?
It's been a little over 2.5 years.
2.5 years. And what kind of equity growth have you seen?
Probably about 300,000.
Right, 300,000. And you, Brant, how much have you seen?
Same, 300.
300. So, and that's all relative to the purchase price that you have, right? So,
Yep.
So we were in a very strong economy, right? And when something like this, a pandemic happens, when something like this happens, because we were going to have a recession anyway, right? Because we just didn't know when. That was coming. So when the real estate market is so strong like it was, it trends to be strong, and that's what's going to keep the economy floating once we get to where we need to get to. So if I'll look at it this way, I think I put it in my video yesterday. So if you look at two mountains, right? And this is where we're at right now. And you Marines have to build that bridge from here, from this span, right? So we're building the bridge to get from this place to this place. Where we were a couple of weeks ago, where you can have rates in the low threes, 2.75 for VA, right? Now we're at a point where, hey, they're in the threes, going to fours, right? Because the banks have to slow down because we don't have enough capacity where there's so much unknown. So here we are, and we keep building the bridge, but what's happening to the span, right? So the COVID-19 makes it go like this, right? Because we didn't expect 100 to 200,000 deaths for the U.S., right? So here was our bridge before. Now we're getting like this, and we're getting like this. As was mentioned before, when bad things happen, it does create opportunities for others, right? So I believe that home prices are still going to stay strong because guess what? No one's selling. There's not as much inventory. Right. If there was a lot of inventory, then yes. So think about it. One of the reasons why I think people don't go and sell their homes is, well, if I sell my home now, am I going to get more or less for the price that I got to pay? If you think about it, right? Because if you look at your house now, would you pay $300,000 for the house you have now that you've been there a few years? You wouldn't, right? Right,
Nope.
right, Brent?
Pay how much?
So the house you're living in right now, how long ago did you buy a house?
2014.
2014. So 6 years ago, right? So 6 years ago, you have $300,000 worth of equity. Ed bought his house about 2 years ago, and he has 300,000, right? If you had to buy a house today for that same price, would you be getting the same or less?
I'd have to move to like Arizona or somewhere else. Yeah.
Right. And so with that being said, that's one of the reasons why some people don't invest, because by the time am I going to get more for my money, or am I getting less for my money? So families who are growing, they're going to have to make a decision, right? Save as much equity as you can, save your money, and then get the house that you want by trending the market, right? So I believe that real estate is going to stay strong. The key at hand is, what is the equity growth? Because it's based on zip codes, as we know, right? And right now, with the way everything's being affected, what percentage of people are working and still getting paid, right? Because now I think it was 6.6 million claims is what they unemployment, right?
And plan to go up, right?
Excuse me.
And plan to go up more.
Well, that is what is projected, right? Because unless people start getting back to work, or we can't get people back to work, people are going to get sick, right? And then those individuals like you, right? You out there saving lives, so you guys are still out there working, right? And then you have to, right? What do you have to do when you get home after being out trying to save lives and helping us out?
Decontaminate.
You got to decontaminate. You, Brent?
Same. Go in the garage, take all the stuff and wash and get cleaned up.
Okay. And then you and how many days a week are you guys working?
2 to 4.
2 to 4 days, and then 12 hours. What? That's all day, 24-hour shifts though.
24.
Okay. I remember going to visit Ed. I visited Ed, and I was almost ready to go down that pole. Not that I would have, but I was anxious to go down that pole and have some fun. So
yeah.
But because you're firefighters, so for those individuals, I didn't really get to do the introduction because we're hanging out having a good time. We're all veterans, and we're all connected through Ed. That I forgot how long ago. It's been quite some time, right? Because it's been quite a few years that I met Ed.
Been around 7 years.
Right. Wow. How time flies when you have fun. And how old are your kids now, Ed?
Oh, they're 12, 10, and soon to be 6.
Everybody has like even numbers.
Yeah.
Three of you have like even numbers. So does it answer your question in regards to because I do believe that's what's going to happen. Because number one, we live in California, so that's one place, that's a beautiful place to be. We have a wonderful lifestyle. You guys are in the Bay Area, right? So what people pay for rent, I can't even understand why they wouldn't even try to become homeowners, right?
Yeah.
Those individuals who didn't take advantage. And so one of the things that people are saying is, with rates being as low as they are, because they're still lower than they were last year, right? Because they were in the fours last year, right? And then we lucked out and trend the market, and we're able to save you guys some money with the refinance. But at the end, moving forward, what are you going to do as far as COVID is concerned, and how it's changed your life? And then how are your kids, how are they reacting to everything?
Yeah. Yeah. What about the Feds buying all those mortgage-backed securities? What's that going to do for the near term and long term?
Well, it's our money. Um, so so let's talk about the short term because that's basically what they're doing. The short term is that we're keeping the economy going, right? And would you agree that real estate is probably the one of the most crucial things that we have industries that we have to have in our economy?
Oh, by far.
Right. So that was why the feds went out and bought what they did. Unfortunately, when they were investing so much money, I think it was a couple of days ago, they purchased so much that no one could afford. They priced everybody out of the market, right? So the biggest thing about the what the government is doing, right? They're just this is paper, right? And how valuable is our paper? Um, I don't know if you got to see my January 2020 forecast, but it's on my YouTube channel. And on it, it shows all the other countries and the value that they had. And we were still in the positive. Okay. So you have a lot of countries that were in the negative before all this happened. So what's happening with us now is I don't have a resource to find out where we are in the chart, but we were still in the positive. But with them spending all this money, what do you think is going to end up happening? We're going to get
Negative.
the deficit, right? So if the economy keeps going and we as a country continue to move forward, that is the purpose of them, of the Feds doing what they're doing, because they bought the mortgage-backed securities to keep the banks, because right, without banks, everything's online, right? You cannot really, it's very difficult to pay a bill now with cash, right? Everything's online. You have to. So what would happen if the banking structure was no longer? And that was the premise of them doing Fed zero rate, so the banks can relax and take it easy. The stimulus plan is also going to help other businesses, small businesses as well. Unfortunately, a lot of them did have to let people go until they can recover, right? But one of the things that's happening is people are doing more with less, right?
That's
Right.
right.
I
Learning.
don't have as many people going out to eat, so I don't need as many people, but you still need delivery people, right? So there's
Yep.
going to be a shift in regards to how everything changes with that. So one thing about the government doing what they're doing, we also have to make sure that that money is creating income, right? Because we have to pay this money back sooner or later, right? So with mortgage-backed securities, with them doing what they're doing, they're keeping the banks alive. If they keep the banks alive, what does that do, right? Then that helps, right, with the circulation of capital
Yeah.
for everybody to continue to move forward. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Makes sense.
Okay. So I'll ask you the question about the kids. So what's going on with the kids, and do they really understand what's going on, or what's their take? Because you guys have three and two kids. So yours is
Um,
young, but yours is a little older.
yeah, the older ones, they get it. They're sad because they can't see their friends, so they're focused on what it takes away from just their lifestyle. But they see mom come home real stressed out, but they don't know how bad it is.
Right.
Either where we work or where Mona's working, they don't really know that.
Right. And yours are too young, right, Brent? But they kind of understand that you're home more or less.
Yeah, I think my 2-year-old, my boy, I think he's enjoying the fact that everybody's home,
Okay.
because just like everybody else out there, we had daycare,
Mhm.
but now we're home and we're having to take care of them. So it's a little challenging, learning to get stuff done while you're attending to the little ones.
Right.
But yeah, they're a little too young to understand.
Okay.
But I'm sure, just like the children from the depression, there was just a lifestyle to save money and
Mhm.
eat what you can. So for them, it's probably going to be the same thing. Just the change for us is going to be the standard for them.
Right. So that's interesting that you bring that point across, because if you look at different generations, the fact that you have to pay $1,000 for a phone, $1,000 for a phone. I mean, I'm okay with paying for $1,000 for a phone if I can get another phone 2 years from now. But I have to pay another $1,000. So before, remember, it used to be like $200, right? You turn in your phone, you pay $200. By the time you walked out the store, you spend like $600, $700, $800, accessories and all that other stuff, right? But at least you got the incentive that 2 years from now, at least it was a good investment. Now you pay $1,000 for a phone. 2 years from now, it's probably obsolete. So I'm happy for the person who marketed and making us pay more money for things that are that cost pennies on the dollar, if you ask me, right? Because there was a big shift. So let me ask you this question in regards to European trade and with everything that's happening. Um, what's your take on? Because I know for a fact, with uh, made in whatever XYZ. How do you feel about some of those things now? That makes sense. What I'm asking.
As
So I'll give you an
as
example. There was an article stating that China's opened up their plants already.
Yeah.
And how can they be manufacturing when the rest of the world is doing what they're doing? When I wouldn't want to buy anything from there anyway if you're manufacturing when we don't know for sure that everything's decontaminated.
No, that's true. That's true. They're trying to ramp up production already because they're losing so much money.
But if
But
you
I'm not
ramp
sure.
up production, what's going to happen?
Exactly. People are going to get sick again.
Excuse me?
They're expecting a second wave in China.
That's right. Because they're not right because of the decision that they're making, right?
Yes.
So but to me it's made in anything not made in America, right? Made it. So right now I'm going to be more aware and I'm going to work diligently to buy more of things in America, made in the USA to help our economy strive.
No, I see what you're saying. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, and also we're not really buying as much. I mean, we're buying more food
Mhm.
because we're eating home more often, but we're not buying a lot of other goods, and that might become, I don't know if it's going to be a new normal for us, but would probably be better to pay attention to where it's coming from.
Right. I would hope. Your take
so
on
what,
that, Brent? I was trying to be politically correct, but I guess
no, no, I'm picking up what you're putting down.
okay.
I think it's going to be a whole reset for, especially for the U.S. as far as being self-sustained. I think everybody's realizing like we can't always depend on other people to get things done. And as you see here, we're depending on a lot of stuff, medical supplies and stuff out of U.S. and we're in like dire need, right? So bad situation for what? For maybe cheap labor to save money. But I think in the bigger picture, we realize as a country that we need to invest in ourselves, even if that means having to pay a little bit more.
Mhm.
If we come to another situation like this, that we need certain resources, it's right here. We have it here, and plus, it's good for the country too, having people have more. I mean, people are going to be out of jobs, right? They're going to need jobs, so why not build plants here? Why not build the manufacturing stuff here,
Mhm.
employ more people?
Right. And so that's what's going to be interesting to see what the government's going to do because with the way the stimulus plan is and them giving businesses right help in regards to staying afloat, right? Because we don't want. I was talking to another person and they were like, "Well, I don't understand why we're always giving breaks to big businesses versus small businesses." So let me ask you, why do you think the government does that, Ed?
Well, to keep them in business. I mean, to keep them in business here instead of outsourcing all their production and all their costs, somewhere cheaper. You got to give them big tax breaks. That's why Apple and those big, larger companies get such big breaks
Mhm.
to hopefully keep them here, even though some of them do outsource.
Right. Your take on it, Brent, with the small businesses versus big?
Feel the same.
Mhm.
I
Right.
think like I think you're talking about just like the banks, just having the infrastructure that we have here. If it gets cut out, then what happens? You got to
Mhm.
keep the machine going. So
That's right. And then the small businesses, we like the video from yesterday. The report showed because the everything was dated as of the 12th of March. So right, the numbers coming out next month will have more accurate number. Hopefully, again, we get some sort of treatment and relief in regards to the COVID-19, and if there is another strand that comes in, that we're more prepared and the weather here is nicer, so we're more protected. Hopefully, I know I was reading something just a little while ago. Is that it's not just the heat, but it's the way the sun reflects and right. There's a combination of everything, right? Because you got Florida heat, you got Texas heat, right? You got California. I'm in Southern California, in the Bay Area, right? So right, because you go to the beach over there, it's cool. I go to the beach here and it's pretty comfortable, right? So when we all come together, right, with the small businesses, medium sized, the ones that were hurt the most are the ones that had employees that are 25 or under, right? Because they're going to have to let them go and then get regroup and then hopefully be able
Rehire.
right? Because the numbers were so staggering when you look at how many businesses were medium sized, small and medium, that they actually let go people. And then for the larger businesses, because again, the numbers were skewed, they are hiring. So it's amazing that people can be hiring. Why? Because it's an opportunity to continue to move forward, right? Because they have enough capital to push by whatever the next 3 to 6 months may have. I think I was reading an article on people, restaurants and things like that. Did you know how much money or cash they have on hand in order for them to stay afloat? Do you know what that number might be?
I don't think it's much.
Right, it's only a couple of days. They only have
Yeah.
a couple of days of cash because if you look at what their overview profit margins are, so that's kind of staggering when you think about what's happening now, and now no one's at the place. And then when you look at other countries that are accustomed to, I guess, disease or what have you, they are accustomed to social distancing. They go in, some of them have already been wearing masks, and because they have higher immune systems, probably be the better way of putting it, right? Because we live in California. I know for a fact, I get in my car, I get to my job, I get into my building. And the only time I'll have fresh air is if I go take my walk at the beach before work. During lunch, maybe I'll go outside, but it's not a habit, right? When I was living in New York City, it was different. You had to walk to the train, right? So when you look at New York City and what's happening over there, what can you do if you're on a train? There's hundreds of people on the train, and then you have to get off the train, and then you have to walk up the stairs, and then you have to walk to your destination. Then you have to get in a crowded elevator, right? So it's just interesting when you look at capacity, right? Because we're California, so we don't know that lifestyle like over there compared to what's over here, right?
Yeah.
And so I empathize with any big city or anybody, number one, who's really directly affected. Like Kyla said, her brother has been confirmed. So hopefully, we'll pray for him and that he gets recouped and do, what he has to do at the end of the day. So as veterans versus civilians, what do you think we see things versus what they may see? Because vice versa, right? Because they're civilians, they see things that we don't see. Now that you're a veteran, but you're still a civilian.
I think one of the biggest things is just the ability to self-sacrifice. Not that citizens don't do that, but in time of need, that's when those things kind of come to light. But we're used to doing that. We're used to giving more than we're receiving, and I think that helps us at times when things get dire. That we've been there, not been exactly here, but been in those type of situations before, where we're giving more than we're getting back.
Mm-hmm. Brent?
I think the preparedness. I think the mindset of a veteran is that we're so used to being put in a bad position or a bad spot. Just our brain starts to work that way. And then even when we get out, we still operate in the worst case scenario. It's like every step we make, it's always, all right, 2 steps ahead. If A or B happens, what are we going to do in that scenario? So, and even in me and my brother's profession, firefighting, it's the same way, like, always anticipating the worst. So when it does happen, our reaction is not like an impulsive reaction. It's an expectation already set in us that we already know how to move.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. So, Ed, you weren't here, but Brent is ready to take advantage of some opportunities in buying some property. So the only thing with you, Brent, it may not be in the Bay Area, right? Because we had this conversation before. It may be elsewhere, but then we can take a look and see what would be the best course of action for you so that you can, because at the end of the day, most people are still going to live their lives, right? That's what we're doing now. We're just social distancing, being safe. But it's interesting for us to be able to say this, because if you have some sort of financial freedom, it just makes it that much easier for you to be able to see forward. For those individuals who, one, don't earn enough money and they're just part of the working poor, they may not be able to see past a week, 2 weeks, right? And then you have those individuals who just have bad habits, right? They just spend a lot of money. And so hopefully this kind of changes their mind. I received an article from one of my persons who, she sent me an article on an individual. He was 90 years old, and they asked him, "Hey, how can we help you? What do you think a 90-year-old is going to say versus a 29-year-old?" I'll just ask you because I'm gonna give you the story. So I'll let you go first, Brad. A 90-year-old versus a 29-year-old.
And what was the question for the 9-year-old?
How can we help you, sir? We really want to make sure that you're okay.
He don't need nothing.
It's
Okay.
true.
Yeah. Why,
He's
and why
already-
do you say that?
He's already lived his life. He's already done everything he's gonna do, pretty much. I mean, God willing, he lives longer and enjoys it in good health. But versus somebody who's barely starting out at 29, they're looking for everything still.
Right. You
And
compare
probably,
that?
and probably at that age, having lived long enough, you realize what was important in life. So
Mhm.
maybe the loved ones that have passed away or his youth, you can't help him with. So
Mhm.
there's nothing real materialistic that I would assume at that age that you would be in need of.
That's right. And as you mentioned that, because he's already lived his life, so he's already lived through the depression, right? So they already know they had rations, right? So they had nothing, and then you had to wait online to go get something. Where we at least, it's the have and have nots, and those, right? Because if you have enough money, right, even if you live check to check, at least you have money to go. You have money to go and buy stuff.
Right.
Where they didn't have that. The other thing too is when you were talking about being prepared. You're 29. You're barely just probably paying your rent, making your mortgage, right? So it might be a little more difficult for you to have the 3 months of savings there. And what's your priority? Because like with me, I know they talk about the toilet paper. It's amazing how people are still out there buying toilet paper who they may not even need toilet paper. But why are they? I don't know why they're fixated on toilet paper when you have tissue, you have other means of because we're military, right? Other means of managing that kind of stuff. And so I
Yep.
think that creativity where you were talking about Ed and Brad is that you do have that creativity. So if I don't have this, I'll just use that, right? Because you have you have a person walking around with $1,000 phone.
Yeah.
Yep.
There's a different world mentality. And I appreciate every generation, but it's kind of nice to know that a 90-year-old can say, I'm good. I am good. So I'm glad that the two of you are good and your family are doing well, right?
Thank you.
Likewise.
And thank you for taking the time. I just want to let everybody know we're veterans here. And this was just just so you guys can take a look in regards to just having a conversation with people, right?
No.
So coming out there, once they clear this up,
Yes.
I'm
We'll
going to
be
give you
waiting.
salsa dance lessons, man.
We'll be waiting. We'll be waiting.
Kathy, thank you for having us. And, we really appreciate you. It seems like you even call when there's nothing to really give like the rate you gave us just to check on us. And then, of course, when things happen, you're always looking out for us. So we appreciate you so much and for always looking after us.
Yeah, we consider you family, so we're watching out for you too.
You got it. Well, I'll be there soon. So you take care and say hi to the kids, okay?
We'll do.
Thank
All right.
you.
So much.
All right.
Take care.
Bye.
Take care.